One of the dimensions that science is comparing cultures on is individualism versus collectivism. If generations in Bulgaria are living with the influence of their Bulgarian parents, um, despite the globalization and the internet, there will be influences, of course, and they probably will be stronger. Mindfulness is, I would say, a movement. It's a process. It's a result of process. It's many, many things. Is this awareness that arises when we pay attention to something specific in the present moment, non-judgmentally, and with the deliberately. So we are making a choice to be here and now. And so with this program, little by little, it lasts for 8, 9 weeks. They realize that there is a bit of improvement.
Hi everyone, I'm Maria and I'm the host of Atmo Journeys, Path to Wellness. This is the space where we talk all about mental health. And today I'm very, very excited to say hi to Stassie, one very, very interesting person that I was impressed from the first time when I saw her. Stassie, I appreciate that you accepted my offer to be a guest of Atmo Journeys. For the beginning of our conversation, I'd like to give you some space just to introduce yourself and to help our audience to get know more about you.
Hi, Maria, and thanks very much for hosting this. The first moment I saw you and I exchanged some words, I understood that it's going to be a very interesting project and a conversation as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward. Um, how to introduce myself? I wear many hats, and because of these many hats, I introduce myself in these different ways, in different contexts. But what I can say here that I'm a psychologist and I work with organizations around their wellness, well-being, mental health, but I also work with individuals. Again, doing some help, I would say support, emotional support as a psychologist and a coach. And I live literally between Bulgaria and the UK for the last 15 years. I have 2 children and a dog, and nowadays you can see only the dog around. The kids are a bit, they're almost adults now, so they're not around at all. One is in her room, but the other one is just, yeah, living her life. So,
Amazing, amazing, and yeah, I'm a huge fan of the dog. Just to say, so cute. Um, you definitely has that kind of life that I'm. Every time when I meet a person like you, I'm just impressed. That opportunity to live in different countries, to adapt within that their society, to build your life there. Because I, as a person that never had such an experience, I assume that it's not so easy. First of all, but also the one of reason that I'm very impressed is because of the opportunity to learn. I believe that the environment it's one of the main reasons to push us to growth and to help us to answer many questions, to bring many questions and to try to answer of them. But despite that, I didn't have that chance. Maybe I haven't created that opportunity. Maybe this is also one of the reasons. I had the chance to work with people from various countries. Working in IT actually is the one of the reasons that I love my job. And considering the last year, my main focus of work is related to the mental health. And every time when I bring the topic about the mental health and discuss with random people, not only people like you that are dedicated to help others, in general, people that they had their experience facing with mental health challenges, there appears one aspect of the mental health. It's about the stigma. And for me, I did, or maybe I'm still doing my type of research with different people, how they describe the stigma, how the stigma actually affected their society, their, or maybe how the culture influence the mental health stigma. And I have my opinion that depends on the culture, depends on which side of the world we're talking about. The mental health were perceived differently. And you, in general, I can say that you have that personal background, but also you have the professional insights about this topic. And what do you think? How does the culture influence the mental health stigma?
Well, thanks for that. It's a very interesting topic, and it's I guess a topic for a new series on this podcast because it's very difficult to cover even the main things. But yes, basically, culture as we think as a national mentality, national culture. It defines a lot of aspects of our life. It defines our political systems, our economic growth, educational system. So it is the filter of everything. And of course, it will as well affect mental health as part of healthcare, but also as part of health, which everybody has, because people have physical health about their body, but we also have mental health. And in very recent years, I would say that many are looking at the body mind health as at one as a very integrated actually system. And I guess this is one of the, of course, many aspects we can look at mental health. But in general, I would say since the mid last century, all the world is doing their learning and going on a journey about becoming more aware and decreasing the stigma around mental health. Still, there are, of course, differences, but in the last research, I think 2022 of the World Health Organization, globally, the state of mental health, being a stigma as well, part of it, is not satisfactory in a way that humanity needs to walk its talk and walk its believe and hope that there will be a better way to deal with and to actually ensure mental health, deal with the risks. So yeah, to be short, culture affects directly and indirectly mental health as anything else, all parts of life actually affect it.
Yeah, I can say that the globalization in general helps a lot. Um, in recent years, because of that progress of the technology and because we have access to internet, help us to educate ourselves and maybe proactively. Yeah, maybe the government in many countries still is not aware. Let's say, based on what I know about Bulgaria, for example, mental health definitely is not priority as a part of the healthcare system that we have. Meanwhile, this is not a blocker right now. Was a blocker maybe 20 years ago or 40 years ago, but right now I can say that there is no excuse for no one to say, actually, I'm not aware of this. How come? The information is there. It's up to you. Just
Yeah.
use the proper search engine and gonna find the right information. And one of the things that also I believe that could and also has that positive impact despite of the culture, despite of the different beliefs that every nationality has, is on the individual level. So many people actually promote the mental health topic. I also try to do my best in this direction. But is there anything else that also could help somehow to beat the stigma, to maybe to avoid the stigma and that culture that influence the stigma, to has that less impact? Do you think is there something else could be happen?
Well, if we look at the stigma in different and culture, I would say really depending on the country. Bulgarian situation is unique with the fact that by the time by the early 30s, when Bulgaria started of the last century, when Bulgaria was on the way to be developed as a democratic capitalist country. Uh, at that time, in its early time, I think we were not behind in any way in understanding of psychological and psychosocial problems and risk, and including mental health. But of course, afterwards, these 55 or 45 or more years of the socialist experiment, I would call it, affected a lot on how we would perceive and deal with mental illness. It was not only stigmatized, people with all kinds of mental health issues were pointed or labeled, but they were not actually allowed. It was a taboo as well. So nobody would speak about it, and people would be scared. Um, so I would say that the fact that we were not freely living in a more democratic society compared, for instance, to Central or even more Western Europe for all these years affected our mental health care and healthcare in general, because mental health care should be part of the primary healthcare, I would say. So yeah, the stigma is really, I would see it's existing to a high extent in our society too. In Bulgaria, especially in the smaller places, villages and small towns. We have it even in the literature from of 19th century. The weak-minded, or the village idiot Muncho in Vazov's Under the Yoke, or there were also other, I would say, characters in Bulgarian literature that you could see how people look at that and that they are afraid. And the communist years did not help that. They actually made it even worse. So we came out of that, and now 35 years of transition, with the focus on economic growth and capitalist economy and businesses, and not a big, pointing awareness and attention to what's happening inside. Uh, so this fast developing of the new economy, anything new that was perceived, um, took its toll, I would say, on everyone, each one of us. On top of that, I would say we would have this so-called generational trauma of living not free lives for many years, and combine this with the cultural focus to the past, because Bulgarian culture, we are proud with our past and with all that greatness in history that Bulgaria has had. But we are looking a lot, and our, I would say, collective attention is towards the past, in such a way that is both positive and negative. The negatives are, for instance, that when we speak about us as a nation and culture, we would look for reasons why we are unhappy now, or why we are not so whatever we define ourselves we are or aren't. And sometimes that is, oh, it's 35 years this, and it's 45 years that, and it's 500 years a Turkish influence, or Ottoman, I don't know what the term is anyway. So I would say that if we think of the nation or the culture as one person, the mentality of this person is the culture. But it would be like they think of themselves, they identify with themselves of a victim. So this idea that we are the victim of the circumstances, the conditions, and we have to be helped, maybe saved from our own fate. Somebody has to come and take us out of this. So that there is a this cultural thing that we are not strong or capable enough, and always comes like compared to some other more prosperous cultures, and that's true to some extent, of course, because prosperity is influenced by political and historical factors. But if we look at Europe in the Middle Ages and this medieval Europe, there were all kinds of other wars and influences and killings and murderous regimes. So I would say, yes, you're right. The globalization, internet would bring awareness, and it's also important, though, what we put our attention to so that we become aware, and what kind of information we look on the internet, or what kind of groups we join to discuss whatever is interesting for us.
Yeah,
Um,
talking with others also could help us, I believe. But maybe this is also part of our identity. We are not so talking about Bulgarian, so nobody can tell me, you know. Nobody can teach me or influence me, because it's a very interesting DNA we have. I prefer to call it like that.
yeah,
Absolutely agree 100% what you said about that mindset of victim.
mm,
We pretend, yeah, I'm part of this nationality. Definitely, I don't have that mindset, but yeah, I'm Bulgarian. So we pretend that we are not capable in general for anything. That's why we need someone to come and do everything what is needed, what is required to change our lives. This is very interesting, understanding about the life. Someone else have to do this. I'm not responsible because I'm not capable. Meanwhile, but if there's someone coming and say, guys, the first thing is to try to improve your level of knowledge in general, because this is the first step, and try to give it advices or information. And it's very interesting the reaction of one, let's say, average decent person, Bulgarian. You can't tell me, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You can't tell me this. And I believe that education is a solution. Let's say maybe education could help us, but this means to change the education system, maybe. Um, to try to develop the different mindset of the new generations, I believe. And this is the next thing before to jump into education. Do you think there is a difference between the different generations? I mean, how the younger generations, maybe that generation Z, I think, they perceive the mental health in general. And what about the oldest generations? Do we see any? Do you think that there is a difference, and what are the differences?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I my two daughters. One is a teenager. The other one is 23 years old, and because they are both multicultural or third culture children, so to say, because they have as well here families in the UK, and their dad is English. So I am myself growing with them and learning, trying to see how they look at the world in general. Um, to be totally honest, I have grown up in the last years of the socialist era, where everything was a taboo, and then in the 90s or 2000, 2000 even 10, I was not so much paying attention on the, for instance, the theme of LGBTQ rights and all the different people, because we were brought up in quite homogeneous society. So going and living somewhere else gave me this open up the horizons for me to understand how different cultures understand, first of all, their life and what they value and how their ways are in general in life. And now, on top of that, my children are not actually that much focused on which is their country of origin, because they've lived in several already. And being Generation Z or Z, they teach me about many things, including tolerance, including understanding of how, I mean, definitely understanding of the different person than them is much more tolerant or accepting. I've seen this in their behavior, and I've seen that how they question all different types of patterns in behavior that are exclusive, or that are not to talk about what's racist or not, what's not. But yeah, I would say that Generation X, which I am a member, representing, need to learn a lot more from the new generations. And yes, there are differences. I can see them in the children in Bulgaria too, that are coming, my relatives or my friends. They're much more open, but let's not forget that, actually they're also part of the communities they're growing up in. And in cultural theory, the strongest set of values and behaviors is being given by the mother towards her children. In a way, even if your father is a different nationality, usually the children inherit their mother's most strongly parts of the mother, of culture of the mother, which means that if generations in Bulgaria are living with the influence of their Bulgarian parents, um, despite the globalization and the internet, there will be influences, of course, and they probably will be stronger. So it's a very interesting mixture of factors. And there's always children or young people who are everything but not close even to the average Bulgarian profile. And there are also others that are close to it. But let's put it this way: there's no an ideal average Bulgarian person's cultural profile. It's just a way for the science to measure what type of preferences each one of us have, and as well to see what the group tendencies are in the culture.
Yeah, definitely. One of the specific thing for our culture is the that role of the family, and I really like that specific in our culture. Maybe because I'm very connected with my family, but I have that. Knowledge, let's say, through the others, especially people who comes from different cultures, my colleagues that we talked about, and that they don't speak so frequently with their moms. Let's say I'm that kind of Bulgarian, and I know that this is very common for Bulgaria, especially for girls, to talk with mom every day. It doesn't matter that we don't live together right now. And I know that some cultures this is not a common, it's not a typical, let's say. And I believe that if the different generations grow together, could become more strong actually, because I believe that the connection with the family could be that have that positive role in our life. This is just random thoughts that I don't have the statistic or something like evidence to prove it. This is my feeling.
Mhm.
I believe that people that have that healthy family connection, in general, they have more health, mental health. Their mental health is much better. This is my beliefs. But do you have any understanding about the other cultures? Let's say we understand the Bulgarian one that it's not so easy to educate ourselves because of the environment, because of the generation trauma that you mentioned. But do you have any understanding about some other nations, like maybe United Kingdom or maybe United States? You have any, especially United States. This is very interesting because they are mixed. This is also one of the things that I'm trying to discover. What is their identity? And I can say that their identity is diversity. There is no one line, but this is my opinion, considering that I'm not an expert. But yeah, so
Yeah, yeah. Well, each culture actually, or a national a group of people that they identify themselves with being part of a certain ethnic group or nation, um, they find difficult to say who I am and to describe, me being an American, US American citizen, this is my culture. They're actually identify themselves with the state they live in, or even parts of the state, because usually, as we all know, I think it's a very universal characteristic. People who are live very close to each other and geographically, they split on a north, and usually it's north and south, and the northern ones are in rivalry with the southerners or whatever. Your question was about the different cultures and education.
Yeah, in general, considering about the challenges of improving the mental health in Bulgaria,
Hmm.
because of the many reasons like a trauma, that differences of the generation, and because we keep very close connection with our families,
Yeah.
which means that one of the significant group that influence our us are our family that are
Yeah.
belongs to different generations. But what about the other cultures, let's say
Yeah.
United States or the United Kingdom? What is the situation?
Yeah, I understand now the whole question. Well, one of the dimensions that science is comparing cultures on is individualism versus collectivism. And cultures which are more into the direction of being more individualistic, and these are all English speaking cultures, the US, UK, Australia too, or the Netherlands, for instance, are more individualistic, which doesn't mean that they do not, of course, cherish their families or they don't like to be together in communities, but it means that they identify themselves with the I and with what the self brings in with their ego. And if you ask somebody from this culture, so who are you, they'll tell you, yes, I'm this and this, and I've done this and this. In more collective type of cultures, when we move to that direction, like in Asia, for instance, Asian cultures, maybe in India or in China, um, or Russian culture as well. For instance, people identify themselves with the group, and if not with the group, with their family. I come from these and these people, and then I'll be like them, or I cannot do this because what my family would think about it. And so these are big differences because, interestingly, Bulgarian culture is in the middle, and that is has been a very, for me, a moment when I was trying to read different research articles about that and find the reasons. Because on one hand, we are really now you and I are speaking about we. Uh, we have this collective mentality of how we are, and when are we going to get better, and what do we need to do, um, and also, yeah, we perceive ourselves through the group, um, but at the same time we're not as collectivist as, for instance, Chinese culture, or even closer to us, Russians. We are focused on very immediate family, or a circle of friends that are closest, and this is where we close. And when we try to, maybe that one of the reasons of our individualistic tendencies are as well, lack of trust to a wider group of people or to even authorities. I guess from historical perspectives, reasons. But yeah, so anything that is our need as well is the need to share with somebody. That is collectivistic, on one hand, feature, trait, but it also is a very human trait. So not we are all social beings. So in order to feel well and be healthy, we need to be in connection and connect with others. And that is one of the pillars of mental health and well-being. Not to be alone and to actively connect with people. Now, how this will happen in different cultures, this differs. And I can give you an example. I spent years working in Bulgarian environment, in business in Bulgaria. So we would go together for lunch break. We were working in the Sofia Business Park. So there were, different opportunities for a group of people. We were about five, six people in our department going together for lunch almost every day, and had really around the table some of the work conversations would go and have the best ideas as well. And then have your life great. Then I found myself in a later on in a similar team of people in London, in UK. And although around us there were great opportunities to have lunch break, although we had, yes, you have lunch break for 1 hour, actually it didn't happen. Not that there were no many people going. Yeah, some people were not taking their lunch break. They would just buy a sandwich and work at the computer. But at the same time, those who were going, they would go by themselves, or at least with one other person. You would not see people in like five or six people going together somewhere to talk whatever they want to talk, and that I felt I was missing so much. And this was in two, three different workplaces that I have been employed at the time. Um, and that is the very cultural, I would say.
Yeah, I also have similar experience that Bulgarian we'd love to spend time with others, let's say, comparing with some other cultures that they prefer individual activities. Let's say, let's call it them like that. And every time when I talk about problems, one of the things that for me is very important is to talk about the solutions, because for me it's definitely wasting of time if so the first thing is, of course, it's important to define the problem. Sometimes I spend a lot of time to try to research it and analyze it, and then for me it's very important as a person and professionalist to find the solution, to solve the problem. And this is the thing that I'd like to talk with you. So we have an understanding about the mental health challenges, especially the stigma, and that the stigma is not only for Bulgaria, it's everywhere, just it's influenced differently. Maybe the new generations are in better position because somehow they're more open. But the one of the solution is mindfulness. I can say that also become a popular here in Bulgaria. You are more proficient in this, and I'd like to ask you to give a more insights about, to give us more details. What is it, and how in general can help people to improve their mental well-being.
Well, thank you for mentioning mindfulness, because that is something that our culture, Bulgarian, we didn't have awareness of for many years. Mindfulness is, I would say, a movement. It's a process. It's a result of process. It's many, many things, and it's not easy to give one definition only. But I will try as a capability of our minds that we all have, and that we just need to train the mind to become more of that, or to just not even wake up, but just open up to what it already has as a skill, is this awareness that arises when we pay attention to something specific in the present moment, non-judgmentally, and with the deliberately. So we are making a choice to be here and now, and to face what is here and now, inside of us or outside of us, in the body or in the mind or around us, and noise, sounds, people, um, in a kinder way, in a, I wouldn't say detached way, but not a way that takes us to rush into reactivity, because our minds are um, wired in such a way to be reactive, and to avoid all kinds of threats and risks. And that is the main reason we have a nervous system, we have a brain that's so much developed, so that it saves us energy and it saves us our life. And so we are focused usually on what can happen, on the danger. But there's a lot more in our lives than danger. And compared to our predecessors who lived in caves, definitely much less danger than in these times. So, what mindfulness, or a person who practices mindfulness, does is actually opening up to the reality of every moment, um, with intention to face what it is. Some people think that it's more to relax yourself, to clear your thoughts, to just not have thoughts if possible. But actually, it's not that. It's much simpler. It's to see what is here now, and to accept it in a way that it's not going to hurt anyone, and neither yourself. So take these, whatever it is, honestly, even if it's a tragedy that is happening, or a very very difficult moment, with being cool in a way, being with yourself. And when I say with yourself, I mean this the conscious mind. As part of our brain is a neocortex that is actually putting our emotions into words, and saying, yes, right now I feel anxious, and it is because I'm left alone. My sister is far away, and I am even unwell right now. So taking it all up, understanding it, and from there on finding a even a solution if there is one. I'm saying all this because I have and it's what happened on Saturday. Somebody called me, and it's a close friend, and of course talking about mental health in Bulgaria. She's diagnosed with MS, multiple sclerosis, and she's really not easily mobile at all. What happens is that her sister has left on a holiday, She lives with her sister, and then all her family is away. She doesn't have anyone right at that moment. She has somebody to come and bring food to her house, and this is it. So suddenly she found herself in a need to share the loneliness that she had with me, asking me for help. And I also had to be very mindful and very, of course, careful how to approach that, because I am how many thousand miles away, and feel that I cannot help her. So I started asking, do you have anyone around you who can help you? Because she was not actually able to get out, and to get to the nearby shop to buy herself bread. So that was the case that I asked them, who can you call to be more helped and in a way to be more supported. And she didn't know even neither a telephone number of any kind of. I said, "Where is your GP? Maybe you can go to your doctor." No, I can't. She said, because the surgery, the GP is nearby, and the only way I can get there is by taxi. But no, a taxi will take my call because it's a very short distance. So I realized that anything that's been shared in reports about different conditions to improve. I mean, globally, again, I'm not talking here only Bulgaria. Mental health is to make it more accessible, and to relate it, link it directly to community services, integrated with primary care. So she calls a GP, and this integrated as well with community. There is a car that comes to take her for a walk, because mental health is not only the state of how people are. I'm going to use here now, are they crazy or not, as people usually talk about it with their friends. But it affects us all as community. And if we have one person in our community that is suffering, um, anyone else is affected. The neighbors of this friend of mine, the friends who are near and far. Um, so again, I don't know, because we started talking about solutions. Solutions is maybe building a framework that is, I guess, legislation, but also community based ways that no one suffers to an extent that they're totally alone. Because this as well exacerbates stigma if they're alone.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you. Especially people in that additional needs. Most of the cases, there is a lot of reports say that people suffer from some physical challenges, problems, illnesses, also affected their mental health, and because of that, this affect the progress of the treatment.
Definitely.
Also, it's I remember that you the discussion that we had with you before, you mentioned about the positive impact of mindfulness, and the coach that you mentioned, that he actually leads research in some hospital. Maybe you can say more about it, and how mindfulness actually influence the general condition of people with very, very about medical, general physical illnesses. So
Yeah.
if you'd like, you can share about it. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for that. Definitely the secular side of mindfulness is related to scientific research and to creating programs that actually they came in life. They were born in the one of them that is most famous, actually, mindfulness based stress reduction, was born in a hospital, and it happened in 1978, 1979, when John Kabat-Zinn, who is a biologist, neurobiologist, and a professor in in that, I think, microbiology. He he actually, having the practice of meditation and this focus, he has learned it in a Buddhist way in India, but then he brought the method and the ways of becoming mindful as a tool for the medicine. So what he did was he invited patients that were on, I think, with chronic pain, and some of them were cancer patients with terminal even illnesses. Others were patients by whom the doctors couldn't find any other solution, or they have tried all methods but couldn't decrease their suffering. So he got them together and he started teaching them um, how to focus so that you are really meeting your mind with all the thoughts that are in it the moment, with the emotions. So understanding your mental state, I would say, from moment to moment. And so with this program, little by little, it lasts for 8, 9 weeks. They realize that there is a bit of an improvement of the health, physical as well as mental, of the participants. And what was interesting, that they were saying the pain would not disappear, but it will decrease, because I would not be suffering from just realizing that I have this pain and I will never, ever, all my life now, I will be with it, because this brings additional anxiety and all kinds of other mental problems. So to make it shorter, uh, several other research programs prove that this program specifically, but also mindfulness, practicing mindfulness very regularly, could improve your um, general well-being, decreasing stress, decreasing depression, or eliminating symptoms of depression. It is, I think, there were other results that it could help as well MS patients and chronic patients with chronic pain. But also it increases some of the good qualities, and increases the feeling of joy and the frequency of how people feel free and joyful and free to create. So it basically increases creativity because people focus on things that are important for them with clear minds. Um, there are some as well. There is research that it helps when really taught by professional. It helps people who suffer addiction, various types of addiction, including there is a course, for instance, for mindful eating, and it helps the binge eating, for instance. So people become more aware how they have this food intake, how often. But it's not only awareness that it comes with also um, self compassion, which is a big one of the pillars again of mindfulness. We do things and we very often ostracize ourselves and beat ourselves for not doing it in the right way. And that brings as well more suffering.
Yeah, definitely. I know that you want to bring that maturity, that knowledge in Bulgaria, and you have your initiative, Mindfulness Bulgaria. You can say something more about. I know that you organize some groups in this direction in the past. I think that it's going to be interesting to share more what you did and what you'd like to do for the future. Also.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Thank you for asking that because I even myself, I have, of course, thought and planned and have a strategy even. But it's difficult to have a strategy and a certain plan to introduce something in, I would say, in a different way, and I'll explain what I mean. The term mindfulness came into, I think, Bulgaria within the last 10 years, and it's becoming more and more popular. What happens is that people read about it and they're engaged and they maybe like it, maybe they are getting applications and trying it. And that is a very natural way to get on with the wave, I would say. When it comes though to mental health and to this um, having a specific mental health issue or illness and going to for help and support through mindfulness, uh, it has to be really very done by professional and professionally trained person. Although anyone, of course, can meditate, and meditation means different things for different people. There is 1001 types, but when really it comes to helping, for instance, somebody with MS, let's put it again on the table, or helping somebody with very, very high level of anxiety, um, it comes to a professional who knows what they do, having in mind their condition and also knowing how to develop the mindful way. So, taking them through the gateway towards mindfulness that will help their condition. So, my idea was to bring to Bulgarian public this type of mindfulness meditation and mindfulness programs, starting with MBSR, the story I told you about, because that is the most researched one. So one of mine and Mindfulness Bulgaria values and principles are evidence based and modern research backed programs. Um, of course, these programs they integrate all good practices, not only from science and the knowledge about them, but also from other, for instance, yoga or Tai Chi, these more spiritual practices that have proven already, again, through research in the Western context, that they work. And so these programs, I would say, are safe to learn for the participants, and most importantly, they're done with facilitators who are uh, also educated about trauma. Because if you take, for instance, a group of you advertise a course of whatever, mental health, well-being, anti-stress and anything, and you have, for instance, 15 participants, at least two of this group of 15 participants will be going through traumatic moment or would have had trauma in their past, near past, or and so if you just go and say, oh, let's meditate, or find your breathing and focus on it, it's not enough. It's not going to work for especially these people. They may not only not like the practices and what the methods are in these programs, but they might get re-traumatized. And this is why I'm talking about here creating safe environments for people to learn mindfulness. This is our main purpose, actually, to help as many people to make this very accessible, low cost, but as well high quality and evidence based. So we started, as you mentioned, with some programs online and also retreats. There'll be more retreats as well in person. And lastly, I would say mindfulness specifically, nobody can practice alone. So we need the community, and we need to build a community in Bulgaria with like-minded people um, who just have the same purpose to bring improvement in our lives.
Yeah, awesome. It's amazing what you say, especially that main goal to create an environment, safety my environment, and that specifics about the trauma. I believe that trauma is the one of the reasons for many mental health challenges. It's just people don't know how to overcome them, how to cope them, and how to deal with them, and they just visited the regular doctors because the visible effect is there. It's as I used to say, our body constantly talk with us. The challenge, the problem that we have is that unfortunately we used to ignore the signals, the whole communication that happened, or misunderstand.
Mm.
Also, this is I see those two directions.
Yeah.
As a person that you helped so many people dedicated your part of your life to others. I'm just curious if you, let's say, if you have a chance to meet your younger self, what kind of advice you're gonna give to her?
That's a great question. I mean, we have exercises of the same type, similar type. Also, there's a um, meditation. I think it was in um, Thich Nhat Hanh school of mindfulness as well, meditation. Meeting your 5-year-old self and meeting this person again with your body, like really with all your senses becoming open to meet the uh, yourself when you were 5 years old or a child. um I would say that a child is naturally wise, and so um I would ask, if I meet myself, yeah, what is it that you wanted to do, and did we do it well? um and I'm saying this because we are not the same person. Even we believe that we are, but even neuroscience has proven that, and the science about consciousness, that we change so much that the person who you once were at the age of 5 or 10 or even 20 is no longer here. It's only the memory of that person. And so of course the conversation is with what in the past my aspirations were, or my dreams, and usually that is the moment of reflection. But anyway, to just answer your question, um, I wouldn't want to give advice from myself now to that person, because I don't think that I'm wiser in a way. Perhaps I would tell anyone, not only to myself, to really make difference between what we think we will do, all these mental imagination things that we are active in there, and do more things in reality. um, I tend to, as a person, tend to just do a lot of things in my mind. I've become this and that, and build towers, and then I spend so much energy on this mental activity that I actually, what has come out of this in reality. So yes, be more real and do things. Yeah, maybe do things with your hands.
Awesome. So thank you for the conversation, for the insights. Was so I can say insightful for me. I hope that we will be able to have more conversation for the future. Maybe to jump more in deeply about the mindfulness, because this is a huge topic. It's, I don't know, maybe we have to dedicate a few episodes about the topic. And again, I appreciate that you accepted my invitation, and we will continue to talk, and I believe soon we're gonna have more episodes about.
Thank you. Thanks, Maria, very much again for the invitation, and also for the lovely conversation. Definitely, it's worth talking, because mindfulness is as big as life. So thanks very much, and stay well.
Thank you so much.